well, our quarterback was out, normally you feel like, well, it kind of doesn't count then. Like that wasn't our real team.
So my solution to all of that is the Injury Parity Protocol.
Ooh, okay. Tell me about that.
This is what we do. So now this requires quite a bit of sorting things out, but my concept is if your starting quarterback's out, then mine has to sit. Welcome to Saturday versus Sunday. I'm John Barbin. With me is Jeff Dover, and let's talk football.
We're a couple of average football fans that watch calls of the NFL. We hope to earn your like and subscribe today. We have a bit of a new concept about injury parity today. So tell us, why don't you start us off why you came up with this idea? Where did it come from?
All right. So one of the topics that constantly shows up in our comments section is injuries. And if we miss mentioning a key injury on a team when we're doing our reviews of a game, and someone will comment that, oh, well, that actually wasn't our starting running back, or halfway through the game, this player wasn't there anymore, or a couple of games ago, the starter in X or Y position was gone. So that's not actually our starting team.
Yeah.
And then
that's as a fan, that's if you're a fan of a team and you watch that team week in and week out, you are acutely aware of when someone is not in there, right? If you have really good QB, or if you have a really good wide receiver and then they get knocked out, you're immediately aware, like when they don't convert a third down, when someone is not open in the passing game, you're like, well, it's because our guy's not there, Right. And so we as regular fans, we watch it, we don't talk about injuries too much, but it is like, if you're a fan, and you lose a game and you're like, well, our quarterback was out, normally you feel like, well, it kind of doesn't count then. Like that wasn't our real team.
Right. And it's obvious when it's a position as important as quarterback, because they have the ball in their hands and they have to make all the decisions on offense. So as soon as your QB is out, usually that means the season's done. If they're out for the season, that also means the season's done. Or at minimum, you could look at that thinking, well, we don't really know how this team would have done unless you have the two best, like a backup QB that's as good as the starter, which is ultra rare.
Yeah. When that happens, that really makes the news. But yeah, no, and that's what it, like, QB gets all the attention, but there's really important positions across the board in the NFL. If you have a really star wide receivers out, I was thinking about Justin Jefferson a couple of years ago when he missed several games, the hamstring. When you have your left tackle really good, this goes out, like Joe Alt, so those are key things. And if you're a fan of that team and you see your team struggling on that side of the ball, then you're really aware of like who you're missing. And it changes how you feel about the game, I think.
Totally. So my solution to all of that is the Injury Parity Protocol.
Ooh, okay. Tell me about that.
This is what we do. So now this requires quite a bit of sorting things out, but my concept is if your starting quarterback's out, then mine has to sit.
Okay.
And so
just to bring the crowd up to speed here, when Barbin says there's a few things to sort out here, he's got 11 pages of notes, and I'm not exaggerating. So we're not going to go over all of it today, but it does take a bit of legwork.
Right. Because there's obviously there would be ways to game this. So the whole thing would be ways to not game it and to make it fair.
Okay.
And it works.
But the founding principle is that if for example, if my team, like, let's say not that Baltimore's my team, but if Lamar Jackson's not playing and we play the Chargers, then
Herbert has to sit.
Herbert can't play. And then that way, when the two teams, like, they play the game like regular, but then that way as a fan, you don't have that, well, we didn't have our QB, or like with that loss doesn't count, or something like. And they do it with wins too. Like if someone goes on a 3-game winning stretch and they're like, oh yeah, all three of those teams didn't have their starting QB, and like that, that goes the other way too. So
right.
Then that way you won't be able to say that, because they were missing someone too.
Right. And that's a good, okay. And let's just stay with that example. Those are the two jerseys teams we're wearing. Right now, I think it's still unsure if Jackson's even playing this week.
Yeah, time of recording. This is on the Saturday, and I thought I thought that's
Yeah.
he missed a
Oh, me.
practice day,
Yeah.
but they think that he's going to,
Okay. So, but for the
and that's at
Chargers,
Cleveland coming up. Yeah.
yeah. So for the Chargers, we know Slater's out for the year, the starting
Yeah.
left tackle, and Joe Alt is out for the year, the starting right tackle. So that
Mm-hmm.
means the Baltimore Ravens would also have to sit the starting left and right tackles.
There's a lot of people sitting for this game all of a sudden.
Right. And
Okay.
then Omarion Hampton's out, who okay,
Oh,
so Najee Harris was the starting running back, and then he
Yep.
was out for the season. So
Yep.
that means the Ravens would have to sit Derrick Henry. But
Okay.
then Omarion Hampton, who became RB number one, he's out for the season. So
Okay.
whoever the Ravens,
third string.
well, they'd have to go to the third string.
Oh man.
Well, actually, I even think the Chargers' third string back is out. I think Kamani Vidal is fourth on the roster.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually think that's the case. So,
Well,
so
that's bad news if you're a Ravens fan. I don't know.
That's who the Ravens. Well, no, but again, this is the concept of like, what are you putting on the field, and we have to put the same thing on the field. Okay, so that's the concept, right? That's
Right.
the
Okay,
and,
so
and
that-
both
so for
teams
that-
match each other.
Right. So because the Chargers had some seriously bad fortune with their injury stuff, and they had to go with the fourth string running back, then the Ravens, Derrick Henry's amazing, can't play back. I don't know if there's some Baltimore fans probably don't know who their fourth string running back is, but guess what? He's suiting up today. And so they're playing for this game. Interesting. Okay.
Now, there's ways to potentially game this.
Right. So before we get to the gaming thing, this would, in your, like, the concept is this would make it even or fair, right? Like across teams, because then you'd, with a key game or a key, division game or something like that, you can't blame injuries because everyone's playing with the same, like, your limitations, I guess.
Right. Because one of the things that fans seem to want to debate, and it comes up all the time, is you list a team's record and like, oh, they're 8-2. And then you go back through and say, well, they played 2 rookie quarterbacks and 3 backups. Like people call it out immediately. It's not like you played all the starters. You didn't even play starters in some of those games, right? So specifically at QB, but it's all over the map, right? So if you, my goodness, if you played against the San Francisco 49ers right now, you'd have to start your number one defense. You'd have to sit your number one defensive end, your number 2 defensive end, your starting middle linebacker.
Oh, man.
You'd have to sit your QB. Now, in that case, that's to San Francisco's advantage because Mac Jones is a stellar backup. But that's not the starter. Brock's the starter. So you'd have to sit your starter. And San Francisco might have the edge over basically everyone in the country, in the league with Mac Jones, because he just happens to be that good of a backup in that system. But that's what you're putting on the field. That is not our starter. And Nick Bosa's out. So whoever your best defensive end is, out.
Okay. So at the beginning of the season, Wilson was starting for the Giants, right? And then they went to Dart. So, and Dart's starting now, let's say, and so does that mean everyone has to go with their backup for him, or because he sort of earned that position?
Okay, so this is where now we might as well get into gaming it.
Okay.
So this is where, so there has to be rules here. There has to be rules. Otherwise, how about this? Joe Burrow's out, right?
Yes.
So everyone playing the Bengals has to play their backup QB.
Yeah, from now on.
So in 2 weeks' time, if the Chiefs are playing the Bengals, they can't just list Mahomes as QB number 2.
Right.
And then have him on the field. Now, how do you get around that? Because there's multiple ways of getting to a criteria. So one of them could be who's the highest paid player in that position.
Right. So what you're talking about is like you can't game the system like saying someone's number 2 when they're actually number 1. So we need a clear way of determining the depth charts that doesn't allow for any tomfoolery, and so one of those ways would be just looking at straight salary, because better players in general get more money. And so if that QB is making more money, guess what? They're QB number 1.
Yeah, he's QB number 1. But in the case of Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins,
Falcons,
that muddies the waters there. Yep. So you have to have another criteria, which is total snaps taken as the number 1 QB in the previous 3 games.
Oh, okay, good. I like that sample too. So then, if it's, because it, again, fans would know that's our starter, right? He's playing more, like he's the person they want in there. And so that, guess what? That's your person. Then you can't just label them number 2.
Right. So
Gotcha.
if you've played as the starter for the past 3 games,
Yeah.
even if your backup like Kirk Cousins is sitting on there happening to have a way higher salary than Penix, well, it's clear that Penix is the starter.
Yeah,
So
because he had the more snaps would trump the salary in that case.
thing. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So, I mean, that's just another way of categorizing who the true starter actually is. And then
Gotcha.
also, so for defensive positions where some players aren't clearly, like Kyle Hamilton, one of the best defenders in the country.
Yeah, that's a good
What
call.
is he? He is technically a safety, but he plays at the star nickel position. He'll come up and basically play weak side linebacker. Like and he can do it all.
I can think of some examples, maybe tight end, wide receiver in that case too.
Right.
Right. Where it's,
So again, you could default to how are they being paid, and how many snaps do they take at those positions? Yes, I mean, even like Christian McCaffrey will go out and play a couple of reps at wide receiver, but he's not a wide receiver. George Kittle plays tight end like properly as a tight end. He blocks a lot, but you'll move him out to catch passes. So it's where you actually took the most snaps designated as that position. So if the previous 3 games you played him at wide receiver, I guess you could sort of say that, but it's to your detriment to do that. Like you can't just keep reshuffling the roster when you come up against a team where their player on the other side, you're trying to get them off the field. So if you
because you're still trying to win the game, you still got to have you're trying, with the people that are playing, putting them in a position to be successful. Right.
So it'll mostly hinge on snap count and what position they actually played. And so for rotational players like defensive line, okay, who has the most snaps at that position? Well, that's if that guy's out, our guy who has the most snaps, he's got to go.
So if you're a GM and you're constructing a roster for this new injury parity system, you're pretty much, you don't want a superstar anywhere because they're going to be not playing, is a good chance of that. And you really want your first string and your second string to be just sort of average to above average players. And then that way they wouldn't cost too much. And there's not a big drop off between if someone's starting and or sitting, like at least between your first and second one.
Well, I see what you're saying. No, you don't know. There's still going to be people who are significantly better. So just picture the league as it is.
Yeah.
So there's Myles Garrett, there's Max Crosby, there's TJ Watt, Aiden Hutchinson, Nick Bosa. Am I missing any of the top 5 or 6? Trey Hendrickson. Anyway, okay. Well, let's
the other Watt, the other Bosa. I don't know, but that's about it.
Right. So, but let's use that as a sample of the highest paid defensive ends.
Okay.
It's not like you want them to be worse than that. It's just that what would happen is they wouldn't get paid what they're getting paid because you would want to pay somebody who's pretty good to be their backup as well, instead of them absorbing so much money. It would totally change how you pay everyone. Now, there still would be people paid higher, but it wouldn't be. What's his name on Green Bay from Dallas? Why can't I think of his name? Micah Parsons. So you wouldn't get these absurd salaries for one guy, and then he immediately gets hurt like Bosa, and he's gone for the year. It's like 100 whatever million, and now you got a backup, but the other $100 million defensive end across the field in the other team, well, he's still on the field. So your 100 million is not going to use.
Yeah. Now, the only thing I'll say about this too is that you're right about the parity. That'd be a really good way, because then if win or lose, you wouldn't say you're on an even playing field, but like you don't have those excuses for like, oh, well, we were missing this or they didn't have this or something like that. Now, as a fan, it's horrendous. Like if you're a Cincinnati fan, it's really upsetting that Burrow's not playing, and that's terrible. Could you imagine if Cincinnati was playing Kansas City and Mahomes is healthy but has to sit out just because Burrow's sitting out, and so perfectly healthy Mahomes is sitting on there and you don't get to see him play? That'd be horrendous. Like it's a star league. Like you want to see the best players play.
Well, so the Bengals fans don't want to see Mahomes play there.
I get that, but but as an NFL fan, you want to see like the best players play, and so like knowing that they're okay and can't play would be pretty infuriating.
I'd push back on that, saying I typically don't even tune into games where a starter's playing a backup.
So do you think the game would suffer? Like those would be worst football games to watch because overall there's
Like, yes
less
and no.
talent playing?
You got to well, because so Saturday versus Sunday, right?
Oh
We
yeah,
watch college and pro. Every one of these guys is outstanding, absolutely outstanding. That's the
that's
only
true.
way they made it pro in the first place.
Yeah, it's really hard to make the NFL.
So if you even out who's on the field, it probably won't
Mm.
look as bad as when starters are playing against backups.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like you might,
Okay.
and it's not like the backups don't know how to play at a high level. They made it to the NFL. That means they were basically record holders in college. Like almost nobody gets to the NFL, right? But only the elite, right? So everyone here is an elite football player one way or another. So but then you have the utter freaks. You have generational talents like Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson that are freaks among freaks. But it looks terrible when Lamar Jackson is playing against whoever's backup on the other side. You're like, well, this is a pointless game to watch. You're just watching the dominant team just kick the crap out of not even the starter on the other side. So that's, I think, equally uninteresting to watch than watching two backups play, knowing the healthy Lamar Jackson had to sit because the other team's guy was injured. At least you're still looking at what as close as we can get to a fair matchup. And that would be as close as you can get to a fair matchup. This is where roster construction, to your point, would matter huge. Like really knowing how to allocate like to me, this is what the salary cap is for. Is really knowing how to allocate money through your depth chart. Everyone always talks about depth, but we all know as soon as the starters are out, depth doesn't matter. There's no chance, right? So what if it was truly like you really better know what you're doing with how you spend your money for on first string, second string, third string, however you want to call it, because multiple guys are going to go down throughout the season, and there's going to be, or some of your starters are going to have to sit when the other team's guys go down.
Right. Yeah, no, and that's what I think of these scenarios. Like it's been one of the great stories this season was Daniel Jones' sort of resurgence with Indianapolis and stuff. But if they play Houston twice, he's not playing because Stroud's out, or you know what I mean? Like that would be, so we'd sort of lose some of those stories of like, playing really well or, surprising, having a surprising season or not. Or like the Steelers would basically, Rodgers wouldn't be able to play for 4 games because if they play Baltimore twice and Cincinnati twice and both those QBs are out, all of a sudden it's like 2/3 of a season. Yeah.
Right. But if we want to, I know this is a ridiculous thought experiment that can never happen, but fans get so bent out of shape about what players are actually on the field and the what ifs and the should haves and could haves if such and such player was there. This is the way to solve all of that. I know it'll never actually happen.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. But it is you're right about the injury stuff. We get comments about that a lot. I always say injuries are part of the game. That's what coaches say and players. And I don't really talk about it too much because you could make an injury case basically for every team. We've covered games where a starter went out at halftime, and so then it was a problem in the second half, or like going into the game, it's our starter's not in, we've got injured this week. And we've even had people comment like this guy who's played really well all season, but the starter got injured at fall camp, and that this is what's supposed to, so every team has an example like that. Every team's battling with injuries, and so it's just sort of, I feel like that is part of the game, and it's
it is. But it's still a BS answer when someone's like, yes, but I know if our starter was in, we'd do better than this. And you can never take that, you can't take that understanding out of the fan.
No, you're right.
Tell them just accept whoever's left because that's just all you have. That's such a BS answer to tell someone, hey man, next man up. So your backup has to play against Patrick Mahomes, and hey man, next man up. Well, that guy's that's the best QB in the league. Our QB's maybe top 5, but when he's on the bench, this is not a fair fight. Like we're not playing the same game here.
Oh, that's a good point.
This is the way around that because fans, as much as that cliche is kind of true, like injuries are part of the game, next man up, it's utter BS when you see a backup against a starter. It's just BS.
Yeah. And the other thing I like about your parody example too is that, when you have a real mismatch on the field, like with the real generational talent versus like someone who's not, it sort of doesn't matter like what you run, defense or offense, like that person's going to, and so this way with the parity, it really does put more of an emphasis on like execution and calling the right play or like being well coached and in the right position and stuff. Cause you're not going to have just some sort of freak take over a certain position. And do you know what I mean? So yeah, I've seen that with like in some defensive ends where the starting tackle gets injured and then all of a sudden the defensive end has like 5 sacks in the game and like single-handedly like they can't stop them and
Yeah.
then they every pass play has to be a quick slant or something, getting the ball out within a second and a half because they know that the pass rush is going to get there. And so having such a giant mismatch doesn't that's not fun to watch either.
Right. So you fundamentally might have to change how you call the offense because of that mismatch. But
Right.
then if your guy's injured, their tackle has to sit, and now you're also getting 5 sacks on them.
Yep.
So now it's even again.
Yep.
Like all the both teams have to adjust accordingly.
Yeah.
So anyways, there's every which way you can game it. There is a way, even if it's cumbersome, there's a way to overcome it. I mean, this even includes guys getting injured during the game. Starter goes out halfway through the game while the other team's starter in that same position, he's got to go too.
So it's not just roster before the game. It's like it's in-game stuff too.
Sure.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like the game that Aiden Hutchinson left. Your starting best, highest snap count defensive end can't play the rest of that game because Hutchinson's not in that game either.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, that's like happened to the Ravens against the Chiefs. What Jackson lasted, a quarter and a half or something?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, what would that game look like if Jackson stayed in the whole game, or if Mahomes exited the game at the exact same time?
Good point. Yep.
So this is what if anyone's even watching this, this might not get very many views, but if you're watching this, I'm sure you can think of your team. Oh, this goes for college too. It might be a little bit more complicated, but not really. It's when you break it down to snap count at position, whoever plays the most in that position, that's the comparable person to the other team.
Well, I tell you where I'd love to have it in college is like the playoffs, right? Because that if someone's QB got injured like first quarter, like that game's over, like for whoever you're, because when you're playing a really good team in the playoffs, like you've really got no chance. And so that would be great for that, because then if the other team all of a sudden has to sit their starter, like this is still a game now. Otherwise, it's which it wouldn't look like that otherwise. So yeah, I think that's a really good idea for that.
Or transfers.
Ooh,
transfers, and that's our starting wide receiver just transferred. So you got to sit yours because ours isn't for the game. Anyways, if you're watching and you're interested in this topic, can you think of a game? Put it in the comments. Put in the comments games where your team you think got screwed from injuries.
Yeah.
And there's an L on their schedule that could have or should have been a W.
Yeah.
But if not for X, Y, and Z players are out, while your starters are all out, while their starters are feasting on your backups, and you're thinking, what the hell's the point of this? Like, I didn't buy season tickets for this garbage. I'm not tuning in to watch a bunch of backups get beat up by a bunch of starters. It's non-competitive.
I can think of more college examples than pro for some reason for this. I think there was a Notre Dame or Texas, Alabama maybe, or something, where the QB went out early, and then that was an important game, and that changed everything that happened
in a
afterwards.
Championship game.
Yeah, that's right, isn't it?
For Texas, Colt McCoy went out, right?
That's right. That's what I was thinking of. So yeah, like that'd be a good example for that.
Yeah, but and it happens constantly in the NFL. Like there's at least 8 or 9 QBs that are injured right now.
Right.
So
no, but I'm thinking about like a playoff game, because that's where it really, not that it wouldn't make a difference in the regular season, but that would be a really good thing to have in the playoffs, because otherwise, it's interesting.
Yeah, like when Carson Beck got hurt in the Georgia playoff game, and Gunnar Stockton had to come in. Stockton played well, but whoever's on, I can't even remember who that was against, but whoever's on the other side of the field, they're going to have to sit their starter.
Yep, that'd be good.
Anyway, so that's the concept. I'm sure fans know this. Fans probably already have this categorized in their head, the wins and losses that are kind of BS losses because their guy was hurt. But you might also have a couple wins on your schedule where you got lucky because the starter on the other team was hurt, like the one of the important ones. And if you And if you don't care and you just like to watch your team win, even against their backups, well, then you don't seem to care about competitive football at all. And all you want is you'd be happy if they all got food poisoning and they just won 100-0.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about your team winning at all costs at all times. I'm talking about what would be truly parity. What would be truly, that's our representative team versus your representative team.
Yeah, it's removing the excuse part, right?
Yes.
Like that wasn't our team. Our starter was out this time. Like that, they got injured. Like that, that happened in one of the games we did a review this season with the BYU where their starting running back went out early, right? And we commented that they really struggled running the ball after that. And it's like, well, he was out. Like, and then you know what? Well, if the other team didn't have the starter, then you can't say that now.
Right. Yeah. So it's true. That's actually where this all came from. The excuse, the injury excuse. And the winning team who did not have the injured player will resort to the, injuries are part of the game. Next man up. Yeah. But as soon as their team is the one with all the injuries, the excuses come out saying, well, that's bullshit. That's not our starter. So it only works like one way. And if as soon as your team's the victim of the injury, then all of a sudden, oh, that's just not our team.
And I think a lot of times people don't realize it either. Like, I think if you're a fan of one team, like, your team really well, who's starting and who isn't. But if you're, if you wouldn't know that necessarily for all the other teams you're playing. So you probably wouldn't remember like that time where you played Louisville and they had their starting wide receiver out. And then they're like, yeah, we killed Louisville. Like, you probably don't even realize that the Louisville fans saying like, yeah, but we didn't have our starter in that.
Right. Oh, it's hard. I mean, fans typically, a diehard fan will know this just for their team. They might not even know it.
No,
weekly.
I don't think they would realize it. Yeah.
I don't think they would know it weekly for the team they're playing against. They'll know their team's like missing stars.
Yes. Yeah.
But they might not even know that the team across the field has just as many injuries.
No, exactly. Well, and they wouldn't be able to, I don't think they'd be able to recall with accuracy the games that they won playing teams that were injured, because they I think they think that every team they're playing is at full strength for the most part.
Well, short of the obvious ones, right?
Right.
Like they might not know the center and the guard or rookies and the starters got injured in there. That would completely affect pass protection and running, right? But you wouldn't. But if the starting QB is out, everyone kind of. You don't need to do much research to know that.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's our concept. Put your ideas in the comments of what games do you think you guys got away with one because the other team was injured, and what games do you think you took an L because your team had the injuries? I don't know. You got anything else? That's kind of all I had for this one.
No, that's a good one.
All right. Okay, so if you're still with us, we appreciate you checking out the video. We know our channel's small. We just started it last year. So if you like what we got going on and you'd like to support us, a like and a subscribe would go a long way, and we'd really appreciate it. So for Jeff Dover, I'm John Barbin, and that's your Saturday versus Sunday podcast.